Can the ACL repair itself, and how long does
I
it
fully
take?
tore my ACL 6 months ago. Doctors told me that if I want to return to sport, I have to do surgery. But I asked them, is there a chance my knee could heal on its own?
The ACL runs through the middle of the knee and helps to keep it stable. Until now, the accepted medical wisdom has been that once torn, it can't heal.
They told me that my ACL had completely ruptured, completely torn apart. There's also no blood flow going to that area, so it's impossible for it to reattach on its own. I need surgery. That wasn't a good enough answer for me. So I started reading lots of papers. It turns out some people actually can heal their ACL without surgery. These papers had MRI images of people's ACLs right after their injury, so it showed their ACLs completely ruptured. But then they have follow-up MRIs a year or two later, and it actually shows their ACLs reattaching. They've returned to the original looking ACL. That was all done naturally without any surgery. What were these people doing? And could I do that? But every professional I talked to, like surgeons or physical therapists, said to not risk it. Just get surgery and you'll be back to playing sports in no time. But it bothered me, having this discrepancy. Surgeons said that it's impossible. Yet I was seeing MRI images of people's ACLs naturally reattaching on their own. I mean, maybe that's not a solution for everyone, but clearly for some people, that works. Why was I not even told that this was an option?
These findings that surgery may not be needed for ACL injuries could potentially redefine future treatment and suggest that our knees may be more resilient than previously thought.
But as you know, I decided against surgery. And this was not taken lightly, since every professional I talked to said that this was a risky idea. This is why I made the decision. For one, my knee wasn't experiencing any collapsing episodes. Because if it was collapsing, there's a chance that more injuries could happen. I could tear a meniscus or tear another ligament. Now, my second reason is you can actually wait to have surgery for your ACL. Now, if you're experiencing collapses in your knee, you might want to consider doing surgery sooner. But for me personally, I wasn't experiencing those collapses. My knee was stable. So there was almost no reason to rush into surgery. And if anything, I could wait and see if my ACL actually reattached. So just from those two reasons alone, it made a lot of sense to wait. But I had one more reason, and I think this was a super big deal. I was willing to put in the work. Physical therapy, probably your favorite thing, right? I knew I had to support my knee. If I was serious about trying to get this ACL to reattach on its own, I had to get my knee strong and stabilized even more. Because if you can have strong muscles holding your knee, you're going to be taking some of the load off from the ligaments. It gives your ligaments a chance to heal more easily. So, what happened? Well, I got into a rhythm. PT. Lots of it. Gentle and slow at first, though. Just trying to get my range of motion back. But as the weeks turned into months, I started seeing progress. I started seeing improvements in my range of motion and strength. I was also eating a lot of bone broth. I tried to eat a ton of collagen to help support my ligaments in their healing process. And man, those first few months, I can't even tell you how many people told me I was crazy for doing this. I got a lot of raised eyebrows. But over the months, my muscles started getting stronger. I started regaining control over my knee. I could walk pretty much normally again. And people have noticed. It's funny, they say, man, you're moving good for having no ACL. So now, here we are, 6 months later. It's time to take a look at my ACL. I wanted a new MRI to see if my knee had done the impossible. No surgery, no bracing, just plain old PT. Very minimal cost and equipment. Had my ACL actually reattached. Here are the results. This is my ACL right after the injury. It's not easy to see it, A healthy ACL looks like this. You should see a dark line extending up from your tibia to your femur. Mine? Well, it's a full rupture, so it's gonna be hard to see a clear line. Now, here's my ACL 6 months later. This line is my ACL. It's a continuous line from my tibia to my femur. The report says, previous study, so right after my injury, revealed evidence for full thickness ACL tear at the femoral attachment. In this study, the anterior cruciate ligament appears attenuated and degenerated, but intact on the current study. My ACL reattached. It actually reattached. Now, it's thin. It has the appearance of a partial tear, so I still have a ways to go. I have a lot more healing to do. Also, within these 6 months, I have experienced a new injury in that same knee. It's a medial meniscus tear, which does make some sense. If you don't have a stable ACL, then it leaves the remaining structures in your knee more vulnerable. And the medial meniscus could take some of the brunt of the forces if the ACL isn't contributing to supporting the knee. But this type of injury can actually heal on its own. It's usually treated conservatively, just with more PT and just modifying your exercises. So I'm not going to be bending my knee as deeply with as much weight as I was doing. I'm going to give it some time to recover. I also have damage in the cartilage behind my kneecap, behind the patella. Now, I saw this actually in the first MRI right after my ACL rupture, but it's gotten worse over these 6 months. Now, if I reduce the depth of my squat, so I reduce the flexion, I do think that could take some of the pressure off from this area and give it time to recover. Most professionals say that this region can't heal on its own due to lack of blood flow. Basically the same arguments for the ACL not being able to heal on its own. But we saw where that got us. So perhaps there's a chance, given the right stimulus and the right modifications and exercise. I'll keep you guys posted on that one. So I reattached my ACL, but in the process, my knee has experienced new injuries. Clearly, this isn't a linear process, but how often is healing a linear process? Since one of the structures of my knee wasn't there for a bit, my ACL, other structures took on the brunt of the forces until my ACL got back online. Now my ACL is there. It's still thin. It can't contribute as much as it could before, but it is starting to help. Also, with the strengthening of muscles around my knee, that's also providing support for the knee. So my hope is that with this added support, with the ACL being reattached now, it can help facilitate the healing of these other structures that took on some of that damage during the time that my ACL was detached. So I think through time, through training, through giving it the right stimulus, these structures will heal too. So that question I asked earlier, why was I not even told that this was an option, that I could heal my ACL on my own? Why was I told that this was actually impossible to do, when clearly it is possible? I just did it. And I'm not special. I think a lot of people can do this. Given the right exercises, given enough time to let their knee actually recover before going back to doing more sports, there might be people getting ACL surgeries who could have healed their ACL on their own. Now, I'm not saying surgery is bad. I think it can be useful for a variety of situations. For many people, surgery is probably the best option. But there could be some people out there who are getting surgeries that might not need it. So why was I not told this was an option? Well, who the hell knows? I mean, I'm just guessing. But if I were to hazard a guess, here's one. I think research follows money. If there's no money to be made in a particular domain, what's the incentive to research it? How much money can you make in telling someone that they can heal their ACL on their own without any help, just with their own body's ability? Not much. So with all of the research flooding to treatments that do make a profit, we, patients and doctors, hear very little about the success of other treatments that might not make much of a profit. If doctors aren't hearing about it, then they probably won't be talking about it. And if patients aren't hearing about it, then they probably won't be asking about it. And the more we do that, the more we reinforce a particular path, to the point that we get a lot of raised eyebrows if we choose a different path. So that's just one guess. It could be for a variety of reasons though. Who knows? But either way, my lesson from this is that if I'm gonna have an injury, I'm gonna take the time to research it. And I'm gonna cast a wide net to see what all of my options actually are. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I still have these injuries to work on. So that's my work. The next 6 months are gonna be dedicated to getting my ACL thick and strong again, and to repair the other 2 damaged sites in my knee. So that's my work, and I'll be posting about it so you guys can see what ends up happening. I'd be really curious to hear your thoughts. I'm betting you have an opinion on this, and I think this is a really good place to share those opinions. And I want to hear all of the perspectives. This is a place of dialogue, and I'm really curious to hear what you think. Cool, I'll see you there.